Let me guess, you want one too? Take the family to Disney Town?
I'm Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics.
And I'm Phil Wolf of the Nephris Initiative.
This is the Herpetoculture Podcast, which is part of the Herpetoculture Network. Enjoy the show. Here we go. Welcome, everybody. This is episode 121 of the Herpetoculture Podcast, which is part of the Herpetoculture Network, which also includes Herpetoculture Magazine, of which myself and Phil are a part of.
Yes.
I am Justin Smith of Palmetto Coast Exotics.
I am Phil Wolf of the Nephris Initiative.
And the show is brought to you by Steve Snakesharing's Venom Hot Sauces. You gotta get them. Bill Bradley got him some, and he loved them.
Did he?
He liked the cottonmouth sauce, too. I think that was one of his favorites out of all of them as well.
Excellent.
And Steve, I don't know if you saw the video I reposted earlier when he went and he pulled a rat snake out of an Old Navy. Like, he had to go to Old Navy, a small rat snake in one of like the hangers of the shirts and stuff.
Oh, really?
And like before he goes to go get it, he like literally drinks some of that hot sauce like while he's driving. And I'm like, if that ain't the most Louisiana thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I saw it. I don't know if it's his kid or his nephew or
someone
something.
else. Yeah,
pounding hot sauce in the back seat like a man. I love it. Did you see that rat snake that I guess was eating chicken eggs?
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy. I mean, that snake was 5 times the size.
Dude, we were getting, when my dad had chickens, we'd have monster yellow rats in there eating eggs constantly. Like those suckers would down them.
And how many times I've been to an Old Navy and I've never seen a rat snake.
Right.
Go figure. But the problem is we're not
people
in Louisiana.
That find pygmy rattlers in Walmart garden centers too, but we never get to see those.
Dude, do you know how many Walmart garden centers I went to when that happened? Because that was in Florida, and I was like, I'm going to go to every garden center, and I'm going to find me a dusky. And it didn't happen. And I'm just like that guy looking around in pots.
Everyone's like, what's this guy doing? He must be high or something.
Yeah, little snake hook in hand.
Phil's in the garden center tripping balls again.
Yep. That'll happen. Happen.
Please check out Steve Snakesharing. He posted a video, like I said, today that showed what he does when you buy his hot sauces. You're supporting him as education, outreach, actually rescuing and rehabilitating some animals. And then he has his own collection that he uses for education. And if you buy his hot sauces and stuff, you're directly supporting him. And then Sean at MP Cages and Exotics, we obviously have to give him a shout out because Sean is the man. His cages are awesome. His racks are awesome. And I still need to get in touch with him about some cages for the heliderms.
Yes, the beaded ones.
Yes, I even have to talk to Reed about that and see where we're at. So,
ribbed for your pleasure.
As much as I want to bother Reed on a daily basis about him, I've been kind of just leaving him alone. So, you're like, Reed, are they ready? Are they ready? Are they ready?
So he had a clutch this year from them as well, right? That's cooking right now.
Did he?
No, I thought so.
Oh, I have no idea.
We got to find that out.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's soon because I would love to go up there and see, his other stuff. And,
yeah,
it'd be cool. So,
very much so.
Who are we joined by tonight?
Tonight, we are joined by the one and only Miss Katie Ward.
Hey.
Katie.
Hello.
So, Katie is a dear friend of mine from, we're like 15, 16 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And Katie is quite the herper. She's had a hand in a little bit of everything. I can confidently speak for her saying that snakes are her MO, but if you name it, she's probably took care of it in some regard. And we figured, why not bring her on and, tell some stories. So what's up, Katie?
What's up? It's good to talk herbs. I don't get to do that often, so.
It's good.
I think we do it almost too much.
We do it too much.
That's what I rely on Phil for.
So, Katie, why don't you tell us like a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, and just a quick background.
Yeah.
Who you are and what you do, your involvement.
Presently, I work at Disney Animal Kingdom. I'm on Disney's ectotherm team, as we are called. They're currently changing some of the names and infrastructure, which Disney does all the time. But we're still the Ectotherm team.
Ectotherm.
Yeah, yeah. So we take care of basically anything that's not warm-blooded. So we have everything from some unique fish and lots of amphibians and random reptiles and lizard snakes, a few alligators here and there, but currently they've just kind of changed us around, and we actually are overseeing or in the process of overseeing everything at the park that's not cold or that's not warm-blooded, except for the Nile crocs, unfortunately, which are still on the African ride, the Kilimanjaro safari ride. So
Very cool.
our team, but everything else we kind of are in the process of starting to oversee if we didn't already oversee it. So that's pretty cool.
Very cool. And
I've never actually been down there.
I was going to say,
it sounds massive.
A lot of people don't know that the Animal Kingdom is essentially a zoo with rides.
Yeah, they won't admit that they're a zoo. They're saying that they're not a zoo. They're a theme park, but they're still a zoo, kind of. They're an AZA accredited facility. So
I was just about to ask that if they are AZA.
Yeah, they are AZA. They are considered, AZA standards. They basically push them up against Disney first.
Very cool. So now I know there's like a safari that you can get on in terms of like I don't want to say like a monorail or their trucks, right?
They're like an open safari car.
Okay.
Obviously, from COVID, they're slightly different. They have plastic walls in between the seats now, but they were completely open air, and now they're still open on the sides. And the animals it's like a free roaming safari that you can see almost a wide variety of African species.
Very cool.
Large fauna, I should say.
I've done the what's the place in West Palm? Isn't there another place?
Lion Country.
Yeah, I've been there. It's been about 13 years, but
there too. Not at Lion Country. I worked at the West Palm Beach Zoo.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. And then you guys at Animal Kingdom, there's a lot of small exhibits and
yeah, and that's the thing is most people don't know that we're there. We're kind of like in the mix of different areas. We've got some stuff in both the African aviary, African Trail, and Asia has the two sections of the zoo or the park have walking trails that have like your large taxa. That's where your tigers are going to be, hippos. There's like a copy and stuff on the Asia Trail. We also have our Komodo dragons there, and we have some smaller exhibits near the aviary or the bat. The Flying Fox bat exhibit has some small exhibits in it. In Asia, and then in Africa, we have the aviary, and we've got a bunch of fish in there now and small exhibits. Everything's kind of a little different than normal because of COVID. So some of our exhibits were moved so that there's no large crowds gathering and that kind of fun stuff. But hopefully, we're slowly moving back to normal.
Very cool.
I like to think we're on the other side of we've hit the peak and we're on the other side of the crest now and sort of working our way back to.
Yeah, and Disney, I will have to say that I've felt safer at Disney than at the local grocery store.
Really?
Disney really made their rules like a must do for staff and guests, and I felt like everybody pretty well kept them up. So that was nice. But
yeah,
hopefully we're on the other side of wearing masks and all that eventually. So
yeah, so I've never been to Disney. I mean, well, I've been to Disney down there, but again, that was when I was like a very small kid, long before Wild Kingdom was a thing, and I always imagined it was sort of just the bigger fauna. I wasn't really aware that they had herps and stuff like that. Is it like a zoo setup kind of deal where like there is the rides and stuff, but then there's a separate sort of facility where you can walk around and check that stuff out?
Well, it's kind of interesting because like they're kind of like hidden. Like if you didn't know that Disney was originally supposed to be an animal park with live animals, you can walk first 50 feet into the gates. There's animal exhibits that 90% of the people that walk by don't know they exist.
Wow.
And it's called the Oasis is the first section, which is my team is separated into 3 separate teams. And the Tree of Life and Oasis is one of them, and they take care of the animals around the main spectacle, which is the Tree of Life, obviously, which is like carved animals and stuff. The Disney nerd in me would tell you there's over 400 carved different animals in there. And there's exhibits all the way around the tree, and there is a walking path that you can do that you can see these animals. There's our tree team has our juvenile galops in there that are pretty cute, and some smaller animals. We have the whole concept of that section is supposed to be, it's the Tree of Life, so everything migrates there or goes. It's the mecca they go to. So it doesn't matter regionally where they are. So unlike a lot of zoos where like you have to be in South America and you only see South American animals, this one is like our kangaroo exhibit has kangaroos. It has a type of vulture I'm trying to remember. Very large vulture. I can't remember the name of them, and another type of bird in there with them that are all from all over, because obviously Africa, Australia, we have wallaby, there's anteater, there's babirusa, which I find pretty cool, even though they're not a herb. And we had a baby babirusa on our team this year, so she's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's things all over. They're just kind of hidden exhibits, and they don't look like they're in cages. They're not gonna look like they're in like pens. They're hidden to look like they're in the wild, in the woods, but they're in mode exhibits or barrier exhibits that you may not realize there are barriers between them. Even out on the savannah on the Kilimanjaro ride, which it'll look like the lions can get to the antelope and the giraffe, but it's really very intricate and very interestingly well done moats and different hidden jungle stuff and hidden electric what would be electric fences in most places. These are like trees and vines and grass that are to keep animals from crossing certain areas.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh. I mean, I would imagine an operation like that. They've obviously put some thought and stuff into it. It's not gonna. They're not gonna cut any corners with it. They're gonna go all out.
Yeah, and original plans for that place was actually even supposed to have 2 separate safaris on it originally, one being Asian, one being African, and they didn't realize just how taxing it could be to make exhibits look that good and that interconnected and not how much space it would take. So when they got the animal people in to start saying, well, you can't do that, it kind of changed the original plans. But we're about to we just hit 25 years of Disney or Animal Kingdom being open, which blows my mind because I remember coming when it was just opening and I was like 8.
Yeah, I didn't think it was even that old. I thought it was more like 15 or so.
98.
Wow.
And I always forget how you are and I mean this the most respectful way possible. You are the quintessential Disney nerd. And it must be so cool to work for Disney doing animals and love Disney,
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like not all of us are like that. Like I work with a bunch of people about 50-50 depending on who you talk to. Some of us are animal nerds that just happen to work at Disney, and some of us are animal nerds and Disney nerds and work at Disney. So the nerd level is real high.
Nice. So
it's got to be nice because I'm sure they have a budget that absolutely blows most zoos out of the water.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I have a different perspective. Going from my personal career started at very small zoos, and then ending up at Disney. Not only is it financially sustainable compared to most small zoos, it is definitely a different world there. And the things that some might complain about if they've only ever worked at Disney, if you've worked at a small zoo, you're like, this isn't an issue. This is
you've got the sort of the perspective.
Yeah, so I really do appreciate that here. So right now work is my happy little escape from being, the house cleaner, the mom of a toddler, and all that fun stuff.
Cool. So we were asking give us a little backstory. How do we get to where we are now with all of your endeavors?
I was a weird creature nerd since I was a little kid. I grew up in the mountains in a very small town. up in the Adirondack State Park in New York, which New York is bigger than just the city. We're almost 8 hours from New York City, where I grew up. And the population of the whole town when I was a kid was about 600 people year round. So
Wow.
really tiny. I graduated in a large class of 8 people. So in the mountains where I grew up, it was, you played outside. That's what you did. I mean, we didn't have cell phones until I was late teenager. So I played outside in the mud and the trees and the woods. The mountains were my backyard. And so I had all kinds of creatures in my backyard. I mean, deer, black bear. We had moose as I got older. They started coming back. Wolves, coyotes. We even saw mountain lions up there. All kinds of stuff. And me being the weird one, I would like to dig in the mud and play with salamanders and toads and the occasional. I found the occasional garter snake up there, but I've only found about 3 in my entire life up there.
Still cool.
They're difficult to find at an elevation of about 2,000 to 3,000 feet. There's not a whole lot of herps. Our summer season's about 6 weeks long, so that's the only time it's warm. Supposedly, the southern part of our county, the county I grew up in is called Hamilton County. It's one of the largest in New York. The southern part of the county is supposed to have timber rattlers. I personally have never seen them, but it would be cool to find one. But yeah, way farther down the mountain than us. So I played with the weird things. My friend and I would meet between our 2 houses about 3 miles apart and jump in a beaver pond and come home with pocketfuls of little salamanders. And they would be dangling from our fingers with their little paddle tails and stuff. And rednecks, we found a lot of those. So mostly what I played with when I was young was probably amphibians, but at the time I didn't realize I was going to go into this field. I wanted to play with animals. I always said I wanted to be a vet. And then I realized your relationship with your doctor is not very good. So I'd rather have the positive relationship with animals.
Yeah.
The one that pokes them all the time. So I started looking into what to do. Fast forward to like junior year of high school, I went out and stayed with my brother who was out in Rochester, New York, and I volunteered at a zoo, their education mobile, the Seneca Park Zoo. And that's where I found out from a keeper there about Santa Fe College, which at the time when I went was a community college. And I happened to get accepted right out of high school. And I did my 2.5 years there, or 2 years there, 20 months. And that's a very focalized, basically, trade school for zookeeping. Everything you need to know from trail maintenance to enrichment training, diet prep, everything you need to know about animals. A baseline for how to become a zookeeper. Very hands-on and still do your basic college work. So that's where I went from there. And then somewhere along the line, I fell in love with snakes and crocs. But snakes, I probably fell in love with on a family vacation. I went to Reptiland in Myrtle Beach.
Really?
And, yeah. I was probably like 12, maybe. And it was some show. I vaguely remember, and they had me touch or hold a lavender California king snake. And I never forgot it. Like, I just thought it was the coolest feeling thing. It was so soft and it was just chill. And they just like put it in my hands, and that was it. Ever since then, my mom was like, "Don't you want to work with butterflies?" I was like, "No, I want to play with snakes."
Do you have a picture of that or no?
I wonder if my mom does. It would have to be like back in the books somewhere. I should probably try to find that.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah,
I've got a picture of me with a Burmese python. It was probably one of the first experiences with snakes like I ever had, and it's hanging on my fridge right now.
that's
It's
cool.
crazy. Like it's weird how vividly I remember that though, because it was when my sister was in 4-H, and there was some guy there with this Burm, and it wasn't a massive one. It was a decent sized one, but it wasn't a baby. And I don't know. I just remember like the smell, and I remember how dark it was in like this tinted thing, and so it was pretty dark. But I don't know. It's weird how you can remember details like that. But
Yeah,
that's the oldest picture I know of anything with me herp related. And
yeah, I'd have to find if I have a picture of me with that. That'd be cool.
It's funny how nothing changes in
Yeah.
25 years.
My mom is anti-snake, you know, and like she always makes jokes like, "Oh, where did you come from?" But like I found that one picture of me as a child with a rubber cobra in the basket, my underwear on my head, like a turban, and like I have pictures of me at the Philadelphia Zoo with, I don't know if you remember, they may still sell them they may sell them at Animal Kingdom for all I know, but it was a plastic cobra that was like chain links and they interconnected, and you would hold the tail and you would wiggle it back and forth, and the snake would, you know, slither back and forth. I had those every time we went to the zoo. I had to get one, you know. So
Nice.
hook them while they're young. So now you had we're at college in the story now.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, you get a baseline for everything there. I'd always actually, not knowing that I would like reptiles as much as I do, I wanted to go into large carnivores. I really liked tigers. And oddly enough, I really liked marine creatures, but of course, the weird ones. Because the one picture I do know we have of me is as a little kid. I was probably 8, and I was at a touch tank outside a restaurant in Maine, telling people how to identify and sex lobsters and crabs and lumpfish, and yelling at this little kid next to me because she called it a Mr. Lobster and it was a Mrs. Lobster. And there's a picture of me holding the lobster. There's also a picture of me in Maine trying to give the whale watch presentation for the whale watch lady.
Nerd.
Yeah, those were the things I did when I was real little, when we used to vacation to Maine. But yeah, I always thought I would go into big carnivores, so I was looking for a job with actually tigers and stuff like that. And then while in college, I started to like birds a lot, so we're getting closer to reptiles. And I went for a job at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm for actually birds and mammals. And when I got to the interview, they said, okay, we have a position in birds and mammals, and we have a position in reptiles. Which would you like? Which would you be more interested in? And I was like, I thought I was going to go for birds, but, you know, I really know least about reptiles, and I'm really interested in them. And I remembered that snake, and I just loved the alligators there that you could see when you walk in. And I was like, I'll go for the reptile one, and they gave it to me. I was there for 3.5 years-ish. And then that's where snakes and crocs became my heart and soul. That's
nice.
That was the kickoff, and that's where I've been ever since. I fell in love with crocs and gharials. Gharials became my big thing. Indian gharials there, and venomous is what I worked a lot there. And all different species at one point. Between me and a roommate or two, we had like 30 or 40 venomous in our house on top of.
So now, well, didn't you work for Glades Herp for a while too?
No, I never worked for Glades. We would go like exchange animals there and like visit there, but no, I didn't work for Glades personally. We definitely field trip there a lot, but no, I didn't work there.
Yeah, because you know Cody and Pia quite well.
Yes, I do. I knew Cody before he knew Pia. I know Cody when he was working at the alligator farm and prior to working at the alligator farm. So we would just same circle of people.
I will say I've been talking to Pia the last couple days, and we have a particular event coming up before Daytona that we are very excited to unveil.
Really?
Something with Carpet Fest-ish vibes.
I was gonna say I thought that was coming up soon.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm a little upset that I'm not included in this circle.
Well, she literally just called me on her way home yesterday to talk about it. She's like, I just had an idea, and I'm driving, and I figured I'd call you and talk to you about it. So I was like, okay.
So you've had like 18 hours to tell me?
I have.
I'm a little butthurt. I won't lie.
Well, I didn't have a whole lot of details yet, but
okay.
Just before we started recording, I was actually
you'll be okay.
Going back and forth with it. Yeah, you'll be all right.
I will do this selfless plug. Both the Rattlesnake Conservancy and the Reptile Preservation Institute are doing a charity drive for stopping rattlesnake roundups. So you can actually go to, you can go to either one of their websites or either one of their pages, and you can make a donation where they'll actually give you some pretty badass swag. You can get a shirt and some sunglasses, a carry bag, and all the proceeds go to helping put a stop to rattlesnake roundups. So definitely check out the Rattlesnake Conservancy and the Reptile Preservation Institute. So sorry, keep going.
Him. We still talking about me?
Yeah, we got some time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you're one of the only people that have ever worked with every single species of crocodilian, correct?
I don't know one of the only, but yeah, if you go through the alligator farm, that's one of the
I was
things.
going to say they're one of the only ones in the country, if not the world, right?
I don't know what the statistics are now, but when I was there, it was one of only 2 facilities in the world.
Wow.
Yeah,
And out of all of them, what was your favorite one to work with?
I gotta love my gharials, man. My gharials took me a lot of places. I got to do some training with them. They're really unique creatures. They're very different from the rest of the crocs out there. There's a lot of they're finding now there's a lot of paternal care, which is really cool. You can find a male in the wild with 100 babies just sitting on his back chilling, and they got that like cool like gara going on their nose. Like that's just the neatest thing. And it did take me, it took me places to love gharials. I ended up going from Florida, St. Augustine. When I left there, I actually went to work in Texas for a little while at the Fort Worth Zoo, and it just wasn't really working out for me there for a number of reasons. And I hooked up with Romulus Whitaker, who's a big croc guy, obviously, and naturalist over in India.
Yeah, if you listen to this show and don't know who Rom Whitaker is,
right?
You got to do
Wikipedia
some
or something.
Yeah, you got to get on the Googles.
He looks like the Doc from Back to the Future.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I mean, it's what he does. He does. And he's totally the nicest, chillest dude. I mean, like we landed. Me and a good friend of mine, Brooke Sexton. She and I went and lived in India for almost 6 months, and worked for him. We literally emailed him and said, "Dude, if we get there, can we work for you?" And he said, "I'll put you up. You just buy your ticket." And we dropped what we were doing, much probably to our family's dismay, and we just we bounced for like almost 6 months living in India.
How long was that flight?
It was 23 and a half hours. It was a long day.
Yeah.
And there's some fun stories there, let me tell you. When we landed, it was about 2 in the morning. It was like 100 degrees. It was sweaty and hot, and no one spoke any English. And we were 2 white chicks with blue eyes and blonde hair, and we were like Mickey Mouse to them because
Might as well have been on the moon.
right? Like they were like, "Oh my gosh, blue eyes, blonde hair. Can we take a picture with you?" Like,
Are you an albino?
They would hand us their children and say "auntie, auntie," and have us like
sign your. Could you sign my baby like Ricky Bobby?
Sign my baby, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah,
absolutely, ma'am.
Definitely unique. So it was interesting, and we were just looking for a dude with a sign that said Croc Bank, and we're like, "Well, my God, I hope this is the right guy," because we're getting in
a car with him.
It's 2:00 in the morning, and this very nice man, can't remember his name. It's been 11 years since I've been there, so he got in the car, and we're just sitting in the back seat, like white knuckle holding the seats as he's driving. I don't know how fast, and this is a road that's only 2 lanes with both fast cars, push cars, rickshaws, oxen, cows,
tuk-tuks,
bikes, bus, yeah, right, tuk-tuks, people on bikes, like just going all at the same speed. I swear,
just control chaos.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I just remember sitting in the back of the seat and looking at my friend Brooke, and we're looking forward, and there's a dog standing in the middle of the road, and we're like, "Oh shit, we're gonna hit it! Like he's gonna hit it!" We're like, "Oh God, he's not even slowing down! Oh God, oh God!" And like, I swear we must have missed this dog by like a hair, and just flew right by him, and we were like, "Oh shit!" Like it was, and we were also like drunk, tired because we'd been up for like 20 hours.
Yeah, I'm sure the
it was
jet
crazy.
lag and everything was just horrible.
It was nuts. And then we get there, they drive us down this dark driveway, and I don't even know how to explain it, but just a sandy dirt road. into the trees, pitch black. And knowing that there are at least a dozen pens full of crocodiles, hoping we don't step in the wrong one, they're like, "Oh yeah, your house is just that way," and they just kind of pointed. There was no welcoming committee. There was just, "Here you are in the dark. Go."
Watch out for Russell's vipers and crates.
Right? We're like,
Wear covered shoes.
okay. Yeah, no, you don't really wear shoes when you're there much.
I know. That's why so many people get bit.
Yeah, we didn't wear shoes much. I didn't get bit. We're good.
Yeah, you guys didn't wear shoes the entire 6 months.
Pretty much, no.
Yeah, because every so often you guys would get cell service and you guys would send me like goofy selfies or pictures of some bird you saw, and every single picture, you guys from the ankles down is just jet black.
Yep.
Just barefoot jungle girls.
Most of the places you can't go in with your shoes on anyways. Everybody wears flip-flops.
Mm.
The scientists. And they were like, "Jump in." And like we woke up, we got maybe like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And they woke us up and they're like, "So the gharial eggs are hatching. Do you want to see it?" And we were like, what? Like, I'm pretty sure before they got the sentence out, we were like sprinting to where these eggs were hatching. And we were just in there like holding these baby gharials, like, oh my God. It was like, yeah, it was crazy. Like,
You're still speechless. It's been 11 years. You're still speechless.
I know. It was the coolest thing because that is something you can't say that happens a lot in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Since until just a few years ago, we've never had gharials in this country, baby-wise. So,
is it because they're difficult to reproduce in captivity?
There's a lot of just speculation as to some of the setup that you have to have. I mean, in the wild, their flood level is like 60 feet. So, like, the female will climb to the top of this bank and lay her eggs, and the water will rise. And by the time her eggs are hatching, the water has risen to that embankment. And who knows if that has something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that they've had a lot of struggles with not only that, but getting a male large enough and big enough to breed has been an issue because, I mean, they're naturally like 18 to 20 feet. There's not a lot of places that are almost fully aquatic. So there's not a lot of places that can house that kind of setup and then still have the setup for breeding to have 2 and 3 animals in a setup that are that large. So
right,
it's been a challenge. I know St. Augustine recently did it, which is pretty awesome. And they have a couple of babies that have survived. So that's pretty awesome. But,
has anyone tried the flood level thing? Like, has anyone made an enclosure that is 5 foot deep at the bottom and then has an embankment that gets up to 60, 70 feet? Has anyone actually tried that?
I don't even know if that's like the resources you need for something.
I don't know how you would do it without it like just falling apart. Like, it'd have to be compact enough for them to be able to get it without it being like loose so that it all just falls in, right? Yeah,
that's true. I don't know. I just figure like they can get whale sharks in a tank. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but a tank's solid. Like, that's a bowl that holds water. And this is like an embankment.
That's true.
I saw those whale sharks at the Georgia Aquarium. They're not like full grown. They're small, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't even come close to how big those things get in the wild. Like, they're young.
I got you.
Because I was all pumped to see them and stuff, and then I saw it and I was like,
it's still
the
cool.
size of, it's very cool, but I was like, that ain't a whale. It's like the size of 2 dolphins put together.
Yeah, so it's like a 13, 14 foot, not 30 foot.
I don't even think it was that long.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know. That's like their big claim to fame, and so I was all pumped to see it. And then I was kind of like, yeah, it's cool, but it's neither here nor there.
So, if I remember correctly, you guys were doing a ton of gharial stuff and a bunch of other croc stuff, but you guys barely saw any snakes when you were there. And they're like, they wouldn't let you go herping, right?
Oh no, we went herping. We just had to often go with the guided tours because of cultural reasons, because it's just dangerous to walk alone in the area there. And we weren't near a forest. We were in scrubland, basically. So we were on the southeastern side of India. It's a little town called Vinadamalli is the name of the town. It's near a very frequented European tourist town called Mamallapuram, which is basically a hippie pot smoking 60s.
Commune.
Yeah, basically there smokes weed and drinks and gives you food and offers to marry you. That's exactly what happened. I
All
will
right.
tell Brooke, I do remember she got a lot more marriage proposals than I do. They would go up to Brooke and they would say, I make you many babies, many sons. You marry me, many sons.
Wow.
We, of course, ran away from that. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it was definitely a cultural experience, to say the least. But there's some pretty great scientists there, and then trying the dynamics of working with the local village was interesting, because the village literally survives around. The whole village is just this little park, which is only like maybe 2 acres. I don't even know. I don't even remember the specs, but it's a small little park. It had 13 species of crocodilians and a variety of other small things. They had paracaiman lizards, like some arowana, which would all, live together. And like we would go in the water with the caiman lizards and do like target training, like waist deep in water with caiman lizards as we were going and climbing outside to catch them their food of these giant apple snails and hand them their food. Like they would slaughter a cow and just chop it up and throw it into these pens full of crocodiles. And I mean, like, all of the cow. So like you could, when you went to the zoo at the Croc Bank, you could buy a bucket of parts of cow and
Nice.
the pen of 2,000 little crocodiles, anywhere from 4 to 6 feet long, mugger crocodiles everywhere. It was kind of a sad story when I was there, just because the government had said, yes, breed mugger crocodiles, we'll re-release them. And then they said, oh no, the crocodiles were about 4 to 6 feet long. And then the government goes, just kidding, you can't release them, but now you have to provide health and well-being for them for the rest of their lives. And they have 1,000 mugger crocodiles, palustris. So, and they won't release them because they think it'll affect tourism. So
Really?
yeah, so that was the story when we were there. I don't know where it went from there, but yeah, it was kind of sad, because these poor animals now, they don't have the space for them. As they're getting bigger, they're running out of space. There was talk of them buying more land to just house these guys for their lifespan, because it was literally, they're crawling all over each other like pen full of cattle. And like it was really interesting, because the women there did all the heavy lifting and all the like manual dirty work, and the men protected them. So the men, who by the way wore skirts called lungis, they wore skirts and a polo shirt basically. And
very interesting.
Big long bamboo stick. I should have brought you one back, Phil.
That's all right. I remember you brought me back crocodile teeth, which I thought was awesome. I still have them.
Yeah. They had a bamboo stick, and that's what they protected the women who were doing the work. And we had to muck one of their ponds, so they're just dug out sand pits basically. And the big adult male and female mugger crocodile live in this one, and we had to dig it out. And you literally basically took what I saw as a hubcap, and they bent it into the shape of a bowl. And then they had a piece of metal that almost looked like a spade shovel, and they bent that and made a little handle, so it was only like this big. And that was your scoop in your bucket. And then they did an assembly line of women up the bank to hand the mud out and go back down. And Brooke and I would get yelled at for being wrestlers and bodybuilders, because we were putting too much mud in the bucket at once, so it was too heavy.
Wow.
They want it to take 3 days to do this, because the faster it takes, the less labor they have to get paid for, because the whole village survives on being paid by the hour. So if the work's done, then them and all their cousins
literally sandbag it.
Yeah.
Them and all their cousins can't come to work that day because there's no work to be done. So we were working together. And also the water was disgusting. Some of the other American and European people that were volunteering with us, one of them like blew an eardrum because he got just a little bit of water in his ear, and completely, like, the next day his ear was bleeding. Like, it was so like gross water.
Wow.
Jeez.
We each survived most of the time with no issues. My friend got dehydrated at one point, and I got pretty gnarly food poisoning right at the end, right? Like a few weeks before we were leaving. I was down and out for about 6 days. Felt like someone was killing me. But I survived, lost about 45 pounds. But, it's a great weight loss plan.
Yeah, COVID worked great for me for that.
I think COVID's supposed to have the opposite effect.
You guys had a bunch of inoculations and stuff too before you went, for like malaria and all kinds of stuff.
Our parents wouldn't let us go without those, but yeah, I ended up a total of 14 shots total.
Wow.
But we got everything except for yellow fever, because yellow fever's not there. We got everything else.
Did you hear that episode of NPR that Nipper talked about getting malaria?
Of course. I was one of the narrators.
Oh, that's right. You were in it. I forgot.
I was in it.
I was listening to that the other day, dude. That sounds so intense.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because that's at this point, like, that's such an easily curable thing. And I don't know. He said he had like the tablets that he took, but I guess they didn't work the way they were supposed to, or it was some sort of variety that was completely immune to that. It was nuts. Listening to him talk about it, man, it's crazy.
Different types of malaria medication. I know when I went, you could have gotten an injection. There was like a daily pill. There was a weekly pill. There was like a twice a day pill. I think I had the daily pill, and I was really bad about taking it, so I just got very lucky. But and some of the pills like really react poorly with you. Like I know one of them makes you basically completely like you're on shrooms. I was told.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, that's what Marcus used to take in Africa.
Yeah, your dreams and stuff are like crazy fucked up. Like,
I'm just here to kill the bacteria. I don't. This isn't what I wanted.
Yeah, it can cause all kinds of crazy side effects. But yeah, we had random things like we found a lot of interesting stuff, and there's a cool lizard there called it was called a colodus, was what we called it. I think it's a garden lizard there is like the layman's term, but I think colodus has to do with its genus. I don't know what its actual genus species is, but they were really cool. They were like mini, almost like an Asian water dragon crossed with an iguana, but it was only about 6-8 inches. But the males were like yellow and orange, like black stripes, bright colored with big spikes. They were pretty cool. And we would watch a shikra come down and grab them out of the hut next to us and go eat it in the tree.
Wow. That's awesome.
There were birds. There were a lot of different snakes. We found some really cool. I liked the wolf snake a lot. He was pretty cool. And the, what was it called? Keel snake. That was pretty cool too. Found a lot of sand boas just under the sand. It looked like something out of the movie Tremors. And
nice.
Just see him like plowing through the sand, and it was like this 3-foot long sand boa.
That's awesome.
Did you see any of the ornamental tarantulas at all?
I didn't see any tarantulas when I was there, except for there was an Indian ornamental tarantula that one of my coworkers had as a pet in his office. So he was pretty cool. But the weird thing that we found there, of all things, we found nice. We found a turtle washing up on the beach while we were swimming in the ocean. Oh, that was cool too. We did see some sea crates. We had
nice.
Crates we had to avoid swimming from. But yeah, we were like, what is that? We're like, is that a sea turtle? And we go over to it, and this really fucked up looking red-eared slider washes up. Dead serious. This thing is so weird looking. Its shell was curved up. And it was all funky shaped. It had white shit coming out of its eyes and nose and butt. Like, it was.
I wonder if it was like the salt or something in the water.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. And, I mean, looking back now, I know it was the salt. And we basically went across the street and bought an infant bathtub, and stuck him in that in our little house for the next few weeks, and nursed him back to health. And then secretly, somebody we knew there took it in. But you're not allowed to have non-native animals as pets there. You're not allowed to own or keep any part of any animal. So all over the beach are cuttlefish bones. You can't keep them. You can't touch them. You're not supposed to take feathers.
Wow.
teeth. So I had a gharial tooth necklace from when I worked at the alligator farm, and they kept telling me not to wear it because they could put me in jail if they thought I had taken it from a local. So,
Yeah.
like, it's stuff like that. Like, some of the rules there are just crazy.
I know religion has a lot to like. There's
Yeah.
they have so many deities for different animals and stuff like that. It seems like the
They find nature sacred for the most part. They don't.
yeah.
So, but we did go out on a few hunts with the Arula tribe. They're a tribe of people that live there that basically they worked with Rob Whitaker as well, and they would go out and they will find these venomous snakes, and they show people how they milk them, and they do all that there, and they milk the snakes, and they do shows. And basically the big four is the Russell's viper, the sawscale viper, the cobra, spectacle cobra, and the what's the one I'm forgetting? The banded crate.
Bungarus.
Yeah, banded crate. And which is funny because apparently the crate is calm during the day if you catch it, and at night it's like on speed and wants to kill you.
100%.
There's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing going on there.
Yeah,
From everything I've heard.
We found 2 of those on property, and then the most of the snakes we found on property were the vine snakes. They would say, "Call the white girls to come play with the vine snake," because everybody was afraid of snakes there, and they would be falling out of the trees on like guests, and so they'd go call the blonde girls to come grab the vine snake.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, we never got to find a Russell's viper, which we would have really liked. We did find the shed of one. We were trailing one. We found a spectacle cobra. We found a sawscale viper, and 2 crates when we were there. So those were pretty cool. But that Irula tribe, they're amazing. They can literally look at a scuff in the sand and say, "Oh, 7-foot cobra right over there," and you're like, "Sure." Walk around the corner, they'll stick their hand down a hole up to their elbow or up to their shoulder and pull out a 7-foot cobra, and just like that, like it's crazy.
It's like
Crazy
Jedi levels of
seriously,
herping man.
like snake Jedis. But they could literally look football field away in the palmetto like crevice of a palm tree and be like, "Sawscale viper," which is only like this big, and they're like, "Oh, sawscale viper," and you're like, "Sure." You get there and there it is.
That's awesome.
It's nuts.
We need to
Super
learn their
cool.
ways.
Right? I know
Yeah.
they did try to take them out of the Indian jungles and bring them to like the rainforest in South America. They couldn't find squat. So
Really?
like it was an experiment I think that Ron did.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, they're used to
Yeah.
certain terrain and species, and they know the habits of those species, like in and out. So
Yeah.
that
These
makes
people
sense.
like get bit from the time they're 2 years old, and they actually have like you can see some of the like crazy deformities and skin rashes that they get from messing with venom so long.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
nuts.
I want to go to the Western Ghats so bad. Like, I know that's on the opposite coast of where you were, but
yeah, we worked with one of the big guys that do a lot of research up there, and he was really fun to talk to. Him and what's the other guy's name? Brian Greg Fry. We got to talk to him a lot, and he's crazy, but he's a cool guy. And did some fun stories with him and some really cool people. The director there at the time had some awesome stories. His name is Dr. Patrick Oust. He is from South Africa, and I'm not sure what he's doing now, but he's still connected in the herp world for sure. And he had some great stories from South Africa as well, so that was really neat. And they did a lot with the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which
that'd be really cool.
Yeah, so we get to hear all those stories and meet the people there. If we had been there longer, we could have gone to both Bangalore and seen the rainforest, and then gone to Andaman and the Ghats. Was the plan, but we couldn't stay any longer. We were poor and ran out of money.
Yeah, they've got India has all the cool boiga.
Yeah, right.
And that's one of the reasons I really would want to go, especially Andaman Islands. Like there's some really cool stuff there, and then seeing ornamentals in the wild would be really cool too.
Yeah, man. And the Andaman Islands, that's the holy grail of cobras, man. It's
Yeah,
the most
Holy Grail of
pretty.
Boyga.
So it is. It's a holy grail of a lot of stuff.
It's got its own
actually,
species.
a guy that we became friends with while we were there, his name's Nariman. He actually works for them and does cobra removal from like villages and stuff now. So that's his job now, is to move the kings. And he posts all videos on Facebook and stuff. He's really cool.
Awesome.
Do they have Malayans? They have Malayan pit vipers there, Phil?
No, I think it's way too far east.
Is it?
Or I'm sorry, way too far west. I mean. Yeah, they have. I mean, India as a whole has, I think, over 200 endemic species of just snake. You know, and then if you include, you know, Nicobar and Andaman Islands and that whole Sri Lanka too. I mean, I know it's not. I know Sri Lanka is its own country, but like you include that whole North Indian Ocean, that's a hell of a lot of really cool animals.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, not even just herps. Everything we saw was pretty cool. We got to see some wild Indian rock pythons. Those were cool. And we would actually go out and watch the local people catch a pillowcase full of bandicoot, which sound a lot cooler than they are. It's not like they're just 10-pound rats, basically. And they would crawl. They would literally be in our room, and they'd come in and smoke it out, and then bash it with a stick.
Oh my God!
Throw a bag of bandicoot in with the Indian rock pythons.
So it was Crash Bandicoot.
Kinda.
Like Crush Bandicoot.
Yeah, it was pretty. Like one day we woke up in the morning and we're like, it smells like smoke. What is going on? And we look, and